So, hi everybody, my name is István Zoltán Szabó, but please call me Steve because everybody calls me Steve and it's easier. So, I work for Pronovix, a Belgian-Hungarian IT company, and I'm a content strategist, so I mostly work with the English language. And as you realized, I'm not a native English speaker. So, I have a journalist background and I have degrees in philosophy and literature. Currently, I'm working on my PhD thesis in comparative literature. So I didn't have a clear IT background when I joined to the company, but I had already had some experience in marketing, both offline and offline. Sorry for the long autobiographical introduction, but I would like to make it clear that language is a passion of mine. I would like to not only to use it, but to understand the different parts of the language. It fascinates me because I think it's the most powerful tool that natural selection has ever devised. So, as a beginner content creator, I had hard times during my work. The problems came mostly because of me. Because the lack of confidence and the lack of practice. So to grow faster, I had to create a workflow, some kind of routine that I keep every day during my work. And I had to find the most effective supporting tools. And maybe most importantly, I had to figure out how can keep myself motivated despite every failure. So my presentation is about methods that I'm using to be a better writer in English. It shows my tricks to self-improvement. I don't want to pretend that I have accomplished my goal, no, but I'm still on the road and I have a lot to learn, but I believe this presentation could be of help for others with the same challenges, and I really hope it will be an interesting point of view for the rest of the audience too. So in the following, I'll outline the main problem that I would like to overcome, and then I show some tricks, some ways that I've tried and I keep doing to improve my language skills. As a start, I will talk about my limits. The most frustrating feature of writing as a non-English speaker or a non-native English speaker is that I can't explain myself as clearly as I can when I use Hungarian, my mother language. So I feel like I was trapped in a cage or something. I'm thinking about something fairly complex, but I can't explain it with the specific semantic nuance that I want to. Ludwig Wittgenstein, who was one of the most important thinkers in the 20th century regarding the philosophy of language, wrote in his famous work Tractatus, "The limits of my language mean the limits of my world." That means, in this particular case, that the word we want to communicate is limited by the language that we use. So I can't name something that I have no expression for. My expressions and the logical and linguistic structures amongst the expressions define everything that I can state about the word. The less word and structure I know, the smaller word I can express. So the aim is to broaden the language skills in order to stretch the borders of my word. Before we take a look on the methods that I use, we we should talk another term, entropy. Entropy is a measure of unpredictability of information content. So entropy is obscurity, uncertainty, and ambiguity. It is constantly working against the proper transmission of information. So during communication, we attempt to reduce entropy to the possible minimum, and it requires very different strategies in writing and in speech. In speech, we can reduce entropy increasing redundancy. So we can repeat important names and places. We can rephrase the crucial points of our argument. And of course, we can ask questions of our partner in communication. In writing, however, we do the opposite. Redundancy is redundant in writing, so it's annoying and unnecessary, because in writing, the reader can easily find the needed information with rereading the text. So it's easy. In writing, we have to be as short and consistent as possible to reduce entropy. The more compact the text, the less the entropy. So that's why Blaise Pascal closed one of his letters in 1657 with the following sentence. Maybe I can show you the sentence, but maybe not. Okay. Cool. Okay. If I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter. Fantastic, right? This beautiful sentence is about entropy. James Glegg's book, The Information, a history, a theory, a flood, is about information theory, and he gave tons of examples of information entropy, and I use some of them in my presentation. It's a great book, so it's worth to check it out for both native and second language speakers, I think. So we fight against entropy in every situation in communication. Naturally, when we use a foreign language, things become more complicated. The structures of the English and Hungarian languages are very different. So there is a common set of mistakes, structural mistakes, that learners at the intermediate level tend to get stuck on. For example, this Hungarian sentence, tudtok élni, it means you know how to live. But very often, the inexperienced learner will translate that way. You can live. It's nonsense, right? But this is a very common mistake for many Hungarians learning English. The reason is the Hungarian tud verb means both the English can and know verbs. So the you can live sentence absolutely makes sense for an experienced Hungarian learner. Another example is, mit gondolsz, hány kávét ittam? How many cups of coffee do you think I had? And the wrong translation is, what do you think? How many cups of coffee I had? It is because in Hungarian, the interrogator, so the mit gondolsz, the what do you think, almost always comes at the beginning of the sentence. So the Hungarian learner will translate the whole structure, not the meaning of the sentence. And there is another in Czech. Naučil jsem o jezdit na kole. Okay, I'm sorry for my yeah. So the English sentence is, I taught him how to ride a bike. And the wrong translation is, I learned him how to ride a bike. It is very similar to the first example in English. So the Czech verb means both the learn and the teach verbs in English. And finally, there is another from Chinese. In his excellent TED talk, "Could your language affect your ability to save money?" Yeah. Keith Chen talks about a situation when he wants to introduce his uncle. Here is my uncle. Everybody understood exactly this sentence in English, right? But in Mandarin Chinese, the speaker wouldn't have been able to convey so little information. Chinese would force the speaker to add tons of additional information. For example, this uncle, whether he's from the on the mother's side or on the father's side. Uncle by marriage or by birth, or he's an older or a younger brother of the father. All of this information is obligatory in Chinese. It's really great. I think it's amazing. But actually, there is a Hungarian word, it's a noun, ágy. Ágy. It's a really useful word in big family reunions or big family meetings, because you can use this word when you have absolutely no idea what kind of family relationship do you have with somebody else. But what I would like to emphasize all of these examples is that dictionaries suggest that languages are translatable without any deficit. But it's not the truth. Every culture sees the world a bit different. So every structure of the language, every language and the structure of the languages will be different. Therefore, the structural differences also a source of entropy. So the limits of my language mean the limits of my world. The question is how to stretch the borders. There are a lot of ways to improve these skills. I'd like to present a few that I have worked for me and hopefully will prove effective for others. Some of these might seem obvious, but I think we can't overestimate the importance of them. I know most of you are way beyond this problem or never had this issue. Still, I think it would be helpful for you too to see this problem from this perspective, as perhaps you have to work with others with the same challenges. So, what should I do to overcome this problem? Write drunk, right? Write drunk, edit sober, as Hemingway put it. Of course, it's just a joke, but there is some truth in this statement, because writing and editing require very different states of mind. When I start to write a copy, I barely mind about the grammar. Yeah, I know it's blasphemy, but I barely mind about the grammar. I create the structure of the copy and add estimated word numbers for every structural element, so I can see the approximate length of my text. During writing, my attention is concentrated on the content and the flow of the text. Sometimes I perceive my grammatical mistakes, but I don't let them to block me, otherwise I couldn't maintain the pace. When I finish the draft, I let it rest for a while, and I turn my attention something else, some other task. It's a very important phase, because this way I can keep a distance from my text and switch my mind to editing mode. As the first step of the editing process, I read the text and correct any mistakes. In this phase, I never use grammar checkers, because self-editing requires very strong focus, and it leads to improving language skills also, and provides feedback about strengths and weaknesses. And in the second phase, and I use the grammar checkers, for example, Grammarly, Hemingway, and so on, and correct the text. Finally, I read the article out loud to check whether it is smooth enough or not. And if it's not, I just adjust the sentences a bit for the better rhythm. And when I finished, I sent it to the editor, and the real editing process begins. So this is my process in short. And now let's take a look at the methods I use to stretch those borders. One of the best ways to adapt new structures and phrases is translation. I'm working for a Hungarian book publishing company as a translator, where my first project was this book, Tom Wainwright, Narconomics, How to Run a Drug Cartel. The author is a journalist of The Economist, and he was a correspondent for 5 years in Mexico. So he knows everything about cocaine business, drug cartels, Middle and South America, everything. This book was an amazing experience to translate. The prose is terrific. The topic is very researched and interesting, at least for me. And the author uses no unnecessary words. So I learned how should write publishable works in English. And of course, I learned how to run a drug cartel. So I had a plan B. Translating a book is an extremely efficient way to stretch the borders, because a deep connection is building between the two structures of the languages in the translator's mind. I prefer to translate nonfiction because the pieces I have to write during my work are far more similar to this genre than fiction. So I haven't had to invent some brilliant narrative solution yet. The second method is watching series. Seriously. Watching a TV series is not just a fun activity, I think, but it helps to get acquainted with real-life language usage. Common expressions, slang, rhythm, patterns, and so on. So for me, one of the most significant benefits of watching series was the English language environment that it's created. Active language usage and learning are essentials, but a foreign language environment during free time activities is really important. Watching a series is a part of it. So besides that, most of the series show the most recent state of language. There is another reason why it is important to follow some of these, because they are essential part of pop culture. And pop culture tends to find its way to very different contents, no matter what, if it's about education, IT, or marketing, or whatever. So if you catch pop cultural references in a blog post, you gain a deeper understanding. So to get familiar with these trends is fruitful not only for beginner content people, but experienced ones as well. And the third one, get a mentor. To have a more experienced person who is willing to advise you along your way can result in a big boost regarding improvement. But ideally, a mentor has had similar challenges in the past that the mentee has right now. So the mentor can share his or her own experiences, assist in avoiding the more common mistakes, and as a side effect, keep the mentee motivated. A mentor is not a teacher or a helpful colleague, rather a form of coach. Their advice is more strategic, than tactical. So they don't micromanage the mentee's work, but maintain a general overview. So the mentor can provide some kind of framework for the mentee's development. It's not easy to find a mentor, and I don't have any best practices for that, and I think there is no general rule for that, because this type of relationship came from personal or professional networks and very peculiar situations. I'm really lucky because I have two mentors. I know it's unfair, but I have two mentors, so I'm very thankful for them. There are a couple of things that you can do when you don't have a mentor. For example, get an Amazon account. There are many books out there about personal development, and a few of them are worth to check, and everything is better in writing, so read them. The second one, read blogs. Yes, it's obvious, but follow not only the biggest influencers, but people in a similar situation like you. Maybe they have they found some tools or methods that you are not aware of. So I learned a lot from these kind of posts. And the third one, go to your real life events. Get a meetup.com account and sign up to events you're interested in. Make connections, build your network, and with this you can increase your chances to find a mentor. So what I did and I keep doing, read, listen, and observe, and practice a lot. There are many ways to apply what we learned. Here are a few that I'm doing. Keep a quasi-daily journal in English. It helps me to articulate quickly and efficiently my everyday thoughts in English. It helps to achieve greater focus, and the best part, you can check your improvement over time. For example, I can read what I wrote a few weeks before, and I say, "Oh, that's terrible." But after that, I can turn a few pages beyond that point, and I can say, "Oh, actually, it's even worse." So it's a great way to feel good about yourself, I think. The second one, start a Medium account or a blog. It's very similar than the journal thing, but it's a stricter medium than a personal journal. It's open to the public, so you have to be specific and cautious. Your post has a topic, so you cannot be discursive, as you have to follow the rules of writing. But as a side effect, you can start to build your own audience. And it increases the pressure, and the pressure stretches the borders. The third one, create a strict workflow and keep it. It helps to stay on the path by day, even on the bad days. And you can measure and compare your efficiency. And the final one, give a presentation at a Write Docs conference. Thank you. So, it is terrifying, but it's also a journey beyond your comfort zone. And finally, one more thing. The draft is done, send it to the editor. How to survive the editing process? Well, I don't know, really. If you know, please tell me, okay? So, thank you for your attention and your patience. It's a great honor to be here, and I had the chance to speak about writing in Franz Kafka's town. So it's really great. Thank you for your time and your patience. Thanks.